If you're a nonprofit leader, you know the feeling, right? That constant pressure to find new donors. But what if the biggest key to your growth isn't out there somewhere? What if it's right here, with the people who already support you? Well, in this explainer, we're going to look at how a surprisingly simple tool can help solve one of the biggest challenges in the sector.
Just let that sink in for a second. This one idea kind of flips the script on decades of fundraising strategy. We're about to explore why a simple survey, something you can send from your desk, might actually be more powerful than your fanciest annual gala.
And here's the number that really sets the stage: 5 times. It costs 5 times more to bring in a brand new donor than it does to keep one you already have. So when you see a number like that, you realize that focusing on retention isn't just a nice thing to do, it's actually the smartest financial move you can make for sustainable growth.
Which brings us to a classic metaphor, but one that is more true today than ever: the nonprofit leaky bucket.
It's such a perfect visual, isn't it? You're working so hard, spending time and money pouring new donors into the top of this bucket. But if your existing supporters are constantly slipping away through holes in the bottom, you're basically stuck on a fundraising treadmill. It's exhausting, it's expensive, and it's just not a stable way to build your mission.
And look, this isn't just a hunch. The data backs it up. The 2025 Philanthropy Pulse report found that a massive 70% of organizations say donor acquisition or retention is their #1 challenge. This is the big thing keeping people up at night. So the real question is, how do we finally start plugging those leaks?
All right, so enough about the problem. Let's shift gears and talk about the solution. This is where we start to see the humble survey not just as a way to measure things, but as a tool to create actual, meaningful movement in your organization.
And here is the big mindset shift you have to make. This is not about asking, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did we do? This is about using surveys as an operational audit, powered by the very people you serve. It's about asking smarter questions to really understand how your organization is working, and, just as importantly, where it might be falling short. And when you do this, you start to uncover some amazing things. You can spot gaps in your own leadership, you can find out what your community actually needs versus what you think they need, and you can even get insights that help you restructure how you make decisions. This kind of feedback doesn't just tell you where to spend your money, it builds this incredible, solid trust with your supporters.
Okay, so theory is great, but let's see how this plays out in the real world. We've got 3 fantastic stories that show just how powerful this feedback loop can be.
So first up, we have the Latina Coalition of Silicon Valley. They had this amazing leadership program called Paula, and they made a really smart move. They decided to systematically ask for feedback from everyone who went through it. And the results? They were honestly pretty staggering.
They got a Net Promoter Score of 70. Now, you might be looking at that number and thinking, okay, so what? 70 sounds good, but what does it actually mean?
So, NPS is all about loyalty. It basically measures how likely someone is to recommend you to a friend. In the business world, a score of 70 is considered world-class. We're talking about the same league as the most iconic, most beloved brands on the planet. For a nonprofit, a score like that is a huge sign that the people you're serving aren't just happy, they're becoming your biggest champion.
This next example, this is where the magic really happens. See, an organization called Luna sent out a survey and found there was a desire for more equity inside their own walls. But they didn't just take note of it. They went back to their community and said, "We heard you." And then they actually changed their entire voting structure because of it. Can you imagine being a supporter and getting that message? That is how you turn a simple donation into a real, lasting partnership. And the impact can be almost immediate. Check out this research from Bloomerang. Just by sending out automated surveys to brand new donors, basically asking them what they care about from day one, organizations saw their retention rates jump from 40% to over 53%. That is a huge lift in lifetime value, just from starting the relationship off by listening.
So what's the engine that makes all of this work? Well, it's something called the Data Unification Imperative. And I know, it sounds a little technical, but trust me, the impact is incredibly human.
For years, this has been the messy reality for so many organizations. Your supporter information is all over the place. The person who volunteers every Saturday is just a name on a spreadsheet. The person who gives every year is just a record in your CRM. And those 2 dots are almost never connected. This fragmentation makes it impossible to see the whole person.
And just look at the difference this makes. Let's take the story from the solo parent organization. When their systems were scattered, a dedicated 10-year volunteer might get a generic "Dear Friend" email. Honestly, that feels more like an insult than a thank you.
But once they unified their data, that same volunteer gets an email that says, "Thank you for supporting our single mom's retreat." One feels like junk mail, the other feels like a genuine human connection.
And the result for solo parent, by getting their data in one place and personalizing their communication, they doubled their first to second gift retention rate. They doubled it. That's the power of plugging that leaky bucket. It completely changes the game.
Okay, let's bring this all home. How can you turn this theory into action and make retention your reality?
It really comes down to a simple 3-step loop. Step 1, unify your data so you can see everything in one place. Step 2, ask good questions. Don't guess what your donors care about. But step 3 is the one that people forget, and it is the most important. You have to act on what you learn. And then, this is key, you have to report back and show your community that you listened. That's how you build real, lasting trust. Ultimately, to do this right, you have to move away from having a bunch of disconnected apps and spreadsheets. The goal is to have a central operating system for all your data. And the good news is, modern platforms are making this possible for organizations of any size, bringing everything together into one clear view.
So, I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. Right now, at this very moment, your data is doing one of two things. It's either building stronger, more meaningful relationships with your supporters, or it's accidentally pushing them away. So which path are you on? Thanks for joining this explainer.